The 205 bridge is basically all concrete. The exception is the seams where they connect together. They just replace those after 30 years, 28 years. The steel needs maintenance. It needs to be painted. Parts need to be replaced. It needs to be inspected for cracks. All of those things. It's a high maintenance design. As soon as you include light rail in this whole factor, the bridge gets pushed up another 27 feet. It's going to be 120 feet at the elevation above the ground level when it reaches the Vancouver side. The ADA, American with Disabilities Act, needs to get people that are on wheelchairs up there, or bikes or walking, need to be able to get them down here, this long trail to get them down to the surface level, because you just push it up another 27 feet just to get that double decker in there. So the impracticality is, I think, more significant when you add light rail than when you are just simply trying to build a bridge.
Yes,
you can build a concrete structure, low maintenance, very low cost. You keep the elevation down, and you can curve it the way you want. You don't have to have these cables that require a straight line approach. It just becomes much more practical. All of that extra construction north of the bridge, that's not where the traffic congestion's at. All those businesses that be torn up for years,
who may not survive
they might not survive.
Period.
All of that, the timing, all of those, the prices that we pay for the sake of this fringe benefit, which is this very expensive structure, we're paying more than I think that's being advertised here. And
yes,
so we are for a bridge. I mean, it'd be great if we could just build a bridge.
But what you want is a replacement bridge, and it's
Yes.
disingenuous to call this project a replacement bridge.
Disingenuous. That's the word. It's just not being forthright. And there are really there's a third bridge and a fourth bridge option. And I look at people who have invested time in over the years. I look at Sharon Nassett. She has invested just about 12, 13 years of her life trying to get a more sensible answer. She has her third bridge option that she's trying to get people to look at that, the authorities. They didn't even consider it. But this whole thing of what's the environmental review, what is the...
Oh, the environmental impact?
Yes, there are qualifications that say if you're going to consider a project, you have to consider alternatives. Well, they did not really consider her third bridge option. So that's in the process now of possibly being considered. But the fourth bridge option, which I think is going to happen first, which is the 192nd Avenue, that one's ready to go. You don't have to build another corridor. You have the corridors there. You just build a bridge like the 205, 5% of the cost of this cash project, and you get it built.
Yeah, there is another alternative too.
I'm all ears.
And that would be to create 65,000 new jobs in Clark County, because that's the number of people that we export to Oregon every day to go to work.
That would be, yes.
And imagine if...
That would be the better solution for us to, in other words...
Imagine if even half of those people were no longer commuting over the two bridges.
That's where also the role of the county commissioners here, they have a lot to do with setting up the environment here that encourages businesses, that makes it easy to start a business here. You minimize the impact fees or take them away completely, and you make it so that they can just simply start their business and flourish on this side of the river. Businesses need to be able to build. They need to be able to get through their permit process. They need to be able to not have to be in debt up to their ears just to get their business open. We had a little mom and pop restaurant start up across the street here, and the cost for them to get going on that was hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get through the process, just to get approved. And I'm thinking, how can they survive with that kind of debt?
Yeah, that's a significant investment for a small family business. Now, that's a good segue back to the building industry group, because what we're trying to do is find those candidates and elect those candidates that support, that are pro-business and that support responsible fiscal policy. That's why it's so important to get involved.
Yes.
You can get involved in a whole host of groups that are all fighting for the same thing. And then when these people are finally in a majority position in Olympia, they can repeal some of the harmful regulations that have come out of the Department of Ecology.
The Department of Ecology
they
is
are
huge.
Horrible to work with, and there's the last report I heard, there were some 37 people, full-time people in Department of Ecology, that their only job is to write regulation. And how frightening is that to somebody like you who owns a successful large business? I mean, that is just horrible.
Well, the thing is, we certainly want to be environmentally responsible. We want to be good stewards of the environment. But to all things, there's a balance. We need to make sure that we take care of the environment, that we're not polluting, that we're making good use
Absolutely.
of the soil out there.
You're right.
We get that.
And I didn't mean to
No, I know you
intimate that,
don't.
The builders want to
right.
destroy the landscape.
And I didn't mean to imply that.
Yes.
I know that you know the balance.
I just want to be on record that we support
Yes.
responsible growth.
Absolutely.
But by the same token, the rules that are coming out of the Department of Ecology are so harmful. And we
Yes.
live in a very rainy climate. I mean, yesterday was the first day it didn't rain in many
We actually had
months. but the bottom line is these new rules basically want to shut down all construction activities from about June through October. From October all the way to June every year, because it rains so much during those months. And these are the kind of things that with the right majority in the House and the Senate in Olympia, we can convince the legislature to put some mandates on the Department of Ecology and force them to accept more responsible policy when it comes to managing our.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it, we have the Clean Water Act. It's a federal law.
Before you get into that, I just wanted to address the jobs issue for a minute, because
Okay.
people in this county need jobs. Where do jobs come from? Jobs come from businesses.
Private sector.
And it's not, the government does not create private jobs. Government can create public jobs. But how do jobs come to this area? Well, people decide to move their business to this area, and that's a competitive environment. We have other states where they don't have these heavy burdens, they don't have these high fees, they don't have these expensive, long drawn-out processes that deter businesses. I'm one of those businesses. When I was living in Southern California, back then our company was a tiny little company in our house. And I evaluated places rated, national climatic data, looked at all the different factors, and we're asking the question, where should we live and have our business?
So you picked.
We picked Clark County, Washington as our home. And actually, the thing that got me started in the first place was we had one brother who, and I'm one of 8 kids, one brother that went up the 5 freeway, and he came back down, and by the time I got home, he said, "We're moving to Medford, Oregon." We thought, Medford, Oregon, where's that? And we checked it out, and it was beautiful, it was very nice and all, but when I thought, well, if we got to work, we need to be able to look at taxes and the ability for us to be able to prosper, and there's no way I was going to move anywhere in Oregon. Oregon was
not with its
just
business climate.
very, very business unfriendly. It was way too difficult.
Well, and
so we came across the river and said, okay, Washington is much more business friendly. So I'm just one example of a business that moved here from out of state. There's still businesses that are fleeing California because of the bankrupt situation. That state is almost bankrupt.
Well, look at Idaho. All of the states in the country are operating under the Federal Clean Water Act, yet some states are interpreting those laws very strict, like Olympia, for example, and for Washington. Then you have Idaho, directly to the east, that they have the same federal laws that they're working under, but they are conversely so much easier to work with, particularly on stormwater issues.
Sure.
And certainly it must rain in Idaho once in a while.
You can take anything to extreme, and the balance is to make sure that we take care of those bases, and I'm with you on that, but we want to make sure that people count. Jobs count. We got to make sure that that's in the factored in as well, so that when people who own businesses and corporate boards who are deciding where should we relocate because this is an unfriendly place where they're at, they'll consider Washington, they'll consider Clark County, they'll consider Idaho and the other locations, and it's a competitive basis. What makes more sense for them financially, just quality of life, and we have a lot, the people that are in power here that are elected to represent and make these policies, that's what sets the environment. And that's what's going to be weighing on the minds of those people that are saying, should we locate our business there? We have a number of people that would love to be able to stay on this side of the river here in Washington and not have to commute to Oregon. Well, how do you change that? It's a process that happens one decision at a time by elected leaders. And I'm with you when it comes to elected
Yes.
leaders. Instead of always fighting against those that they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that, and we need to rally to change that policy, it would be so much better to have somebody in there in the first place. That's why you have the position that you have. And citizens, if you're out there and you're thinking, well, where do these politicians come from? Well, maybe you are one. Please consider serving your community through a sacrificial service of, if you got good business sense and you have, if you're a good steward and if you know how business should operate and what kind of environment would be a good thing for that business to thrive, then consider running or find somebody that you would encourage to run and see what you can do to get them plugged in. One place to start here is to contact Liz Pike at the BIG.
Yes. Yes, and you can find me at on the Building Industry Associations of Clark County website. And as you mentioned, you're very correct. The perfect training ground for would-be legislative leaders or county commissioners are town councils all across Clark County. Run for school board, run for city council, run for mayor of your town. Those are all great ways. Most of those jobs are part-time. You can still operate your business or work at your full-time job and serve your community. And it's a great way for you to see how municipal government operates. And it's a great testing ground to see if you've got what it takes to be a leader at higher offices. And that's one of the big areas that the big focus is on, is candidate recruitment for these local races for city councils and school boards.
Yes, and one of the ways that you can find out what positions are open, you can go to a website. It's by our county.
Yes.
It's clarkvotes.org. You can, I think it's .com or .org.
I think it's .org. Yeah, and they have you just click on elected officials.
They list, I think there's like 90 positions or 90-some positions that are open. June is coming. It's like the first week or week and a half of June is when you sign up. But you don't want to wait till then. You want to be, right now is the time to be able to look at and say, well, maybe I can run for this position. Maybe I can run for that position. Or I can get Harry over here to run for that position. Because the leaders that we have, if they think that they're so qualified, they get this elitism kind of thing, well, I'll make your decisions for you. It may not be the right person. We want people that are humble, who maybe think they're unqualified because of their humbleness, who yet they have good business sense and they can do a good job of that position. You might find that you're doing a lot better than somebody that's already there for the wrong reasons.
Yes, and running for public office is definitely a life-changing experience. I can attest to that.
Have you done that?
I have done that. I'm a former elected official from the city of Camas. I served on the city council in Camas from 2004 to 2007, and it was a very rewarding experience. Speaking of elected officials, I have to put one plug in for the next BIG fundraising event, because that's how we elect candidates, is through fundraising. And as you know, money is sort of the mother's milk of elections. And
it does take money.
Without money, it's very difficult to get your message out so that people understand what you're advocating for. On May 26th, it's a Thursday at Heathman Lodge, the BIG is organizing a big auction. It's called the Argent Stratus Auction for Political Action, and it's presented by Couv.com. And also
we're one of the sponsors.
And MetLife Home Loans. And it's, as I mentioned, it's going to be at the Heathman Lodge. You can order your tickets online at www.biaofclarkcounty.org. And it's going to be a really great event. Our keynote speaker is Washington State Attorney Rob McKenna. And we're very excited about it. And all the money we raise from that evening is going to go toward electing candidates that are pro-business, pro-industry, pro-jobs, and they support fiscal responsibility.
So there is a connection. If you want to be able to have jobs, you want to have business that's healthy, you need to be able to elect people that create that environment, that encourage that. So now we can live on this side of the river. We can work on this side of the river. We don't have to drive over there to pay Oregon income taxes. We certainly don't want to have to pay tolls on top of that and have this debt that weighs us down as well.